Hey, baseball fans, the MLB offseason is in full effect right now. We already have some big signings being made. At time of recording, Anthony Rizzo and Tyler Anderson have already re-signed or found new homes. So it's time to predict some MLB free agent moves. Today's video, I'm going to give each team one brand new player for next year that I'm predicting. So in this video, I've gone through all the free agents and reassigned them to teams that fit the need. In today's video, we are not re-signing players. So nobody's going back to their original team. This is predictions of players leaving their current club and finding a new home, but we are still matching team to need as well as budget. So let's go. Let's start with the big one, the American League East. The New York Yankees acquire Trea Turner. If Aaron Judge does not come back to New York, I think Turner is the perfect fit for the New York Yankees. He can play shortstop. He could move to second base. He could potentially even play some center field. I know Yankee fans are big on Oswaldo Peraza and Anthony Volpe coming through the system, but Trea Turner just has that skill set that matches any team. With the change in the rules, I think his speed is going to be an even bigger asset. I think Trea Turner is an excellent fit for the New York Yankees. The Toronto Blue Jays need pitching. For me, I think they signed Canadian Jameson Taillon. Taillon would fit so well as a number 3 or 4 starter in Toronto. Less pressure. Again, the back end of the rotation. You add Manoah, Gausman, Brios, Taillon. I think that makes it very nice 1 through 4 for the Jays. They need bullpen arms, but there just aren't the impact arms out there. So I've got Taillon to the Jays. Tampa Bay Rays need some pitching depth as well. And a guy that I think could really fit well in Tampa Bay is Jose Quintana. Quintana really built his value back up. Excellent year with Pittsburgh and then pitched very, very well after the move to St. Louis at the trade deadline. I think he's a very good 1 to 2 year fit for Tampa Bay, a cost-effective pitcher. I think he looks very good at the Rays. The Rays need someone for experience to kind of fill that Corey Kluber role for the next year. I think Quintana makes a lot of sense in Tampa Bay. The time is now for the Baltimore Orioles to spend big. Adley Rutschman is going to be there for the full year. Grayson Rodriguez is expected back. The bullpen is expected most, if not all of it, back. This is an opportunity for the Orioles to strike big. Shortstop, Carlos Correa. I think Correa really fits what the Orioles need. They had a good defense this year. He brings quality defense. They need another bat in that middle of the lineup. Correa makes a lot of sense for the Orioles. He can bat in either 2 or maybe 5th spot for them. I think he'd look really, really good. The question is, how is offensive production carry over into that new Orioles stadium with the big left field? But I think Correa makes a lot of sense on a long-term deal in Baltimore. Last but not least, the American League East is going to be the Boston Red Sox. If Xander Bogaerts returns, I think they really need to rebuild quickly. And a place they could really up some talent is in the outfield. So I look for them to bring in Brandon Nimmo to play center field, right field for that Red Sox team. Quality bat at the top of the lineup, adds a lot of contact, some speed, good defense, good bat-to-ball skills. If you were able to combine him with Bogaerts and Devers, that it creates a very imposing top of the order. I think Nimmo would look really good in Boston if he doesn't return to the Mets. AL Central time, start off with the champs, the Cleveland Guardians. I think they would look really good bringing in Taylor Rogers. Rogers had some struggles in San Diego. Then he was moved to Milwaukee at the deadline in that Josh Hader deal. He had some troubles in Milwaukee, so he's looking to increase some value. He's a quality left-hander reliever. I think that would play very well in Cleveland. Cleveland has had some very good bullpens in the past. Emmanuel Clase, James Karinchak at the back end of that bullpen looked very good, but they could use a dominant lefty. And Taylor Rogers really dominated as a setup guy and a lefty specialist more so than a closer. So I think Rogers would look very good in Cleveland. The Minnesota Twins are a team that are looking for some starting pitching, and I think Chris Bassett coming over from the New York Mets would make a lot of sense for the Minnesota Twins. Bassett's not going to command the same type of high salary as some of these other starters. He'd fit very well with Joe Ryan, Sonny Gray, creates a very good 1-2-3 to that rotation. Minnesota is going to have to live on pitching a little bit. I don't think they have the money to go out and spend big on offense. So I think Bassett and fortifying that starting rotation, taking some shots at maybe some cheaper players, make a lot of sense. Bassett would look good in Minnesota. Let's swing big. Chicago White Sox, Jacob deGrom. The White Sox have money. They don't have is a lot of prospects paying a lot of trades. So if they're going to improve this team, it's going to have to be by spending, spending, spending. I think Jacob deGrom would look fantastic with the White Sox. He's the type of guy who could command probably up to $45 million a season. But if deGrom is healthy, you combine him with Dylan Cease and Michael Kopech, that is a dominant starting pitching staff who could win that AL Central. I think Jacob deGrom would be a perfect fit for the White Sox. They need to pony up and spend some cash. Looking down lower in the AL Central, the Kansas City Royals, I think Brandon Drury would be a very good fit for the Royals. Vinny Pasquantino played very well at first base. Drury can play first, second, third. He's a very good player. Had a very, very good season. Rebuilt his value with the Reds before moving on to the Padres at the deadline. I could see Drury signing a one-year deal with a team like the Royals where he gets consistent at-bats and can produce offensively and then be moved out at the trade deadline for a very good prospect. I think this deal would make a lot of sense for both player and team to give Drury the at-bats he needs and then to produce for a team at the trade deadline and after as he builds his value. And then we talk about a multi-year contract for him next offseason. The Detroit Tigers are a mess. I thought they were going to take a big step this season. That didn't happen. They need some pitching. They need some hitting. They need it all. A guy that fits very well, I think, would be Tayron Walker. Walker has had some health issues along the way, but he's been a very good pitcher when healthy. He could do very, very well in the AL Central where the teams aren't as stacked in terms of the lineup. I think Walker makes a lot of sense for the Tigers, give them a bunch of quality innings, can kind of work with those young guys a little bit too, and build a nice, solid rotation for the Tigers when you start considering Tarek Skubal and some of the others that are coming back from injury with the Tigers. So I think Tayron Walker makes a lot of sense for them. Let's finish off the American League out west. We'll start with the World Series champion Houston Astros. I don't think the Astros are going to bring back Yuli Gurriel. He struggled during the season. He had a nice playoff before he got hurt, but I just don't see him bringing back Gurriel, so they need to move on at first base. I'm thinking Josh Bell. Josh Bell, that switch hitter, could really produce in that Houston lineup. You could bat him in like the 5th, 6th place in that lineup. Lots of pop. He has that opposite field stroke that would play the Crawford boxes from the left-hand side as well. The defense is okay. He has really no arm at this point, but as a first baseman, you can kind of hide that, and you can get him some at-bats at DH as well. So I think Josh Bell is a great fit for the Houston Astros. Next up, the Seattle Mariners. I think they are not going to swing big with a big-time money play because these shortstop players are not going to want to play second base, and if they're committed to J.P. Crawford at shortstop, I think that's going to affect them. So the player I've got for the Mariners to sign, Jurickson Profar. How about a leadoff type of batter, some decent on-base skills, plenty of speed, who could really be helped by the rule changes, can play the infield in a pinch, can play the outfield, play left field, play right field for you, even some center field. I think Jurickson Profar is a player that makes a lot of sense for the Mariners, gives them some depth. They're losing some guys like Adam Frazier, so I think Jurickson Profar would really fit the Seattle Mariners. Texas Rangers are expected to spend big this offseason, and they need pitching. They've attacked the offense last offseason. It's pitching time this one. Carlos Rodon. I don't think they're going to pony up for Jacob deGrom and spend all that money, but if you can get a guy for 3, 4, 5 years, Carlos Rodon is a guy I think Texas needs to take a look at. He's not going to be as expensive. The last 2 seasons have been very, very impressive. He's put the health issues behind him. I think Carlos Rodon is a very impressive player who would really fit well in Texas as their brand new ace. At time recording, the Los Angeles Angels had signed Tyler Anderson to a 3-year, $39 million contract. So now I did a little bit of shuffling. And you know what else I think they need? Nathan Eovaldi. Eovaldi can give you a lot of quality innings. He's had some health issues along the way, but for the most part has been pretty consistent. He gives you a lot of quality innings. He's a 5-6 inning guy. He was very good at the Red Sox. His velocity has diminished a little bit, and it just doesn't stand out the way it used to. Sounds like the type of guy that the Angels need. But they have to do something, or they're going to lose Shohei Ohtani. You bring in Tyler Anderson, you bring in Nathan Eovaldi, that rebuilds that rotation. It might give them a shot. Who knows what's going to happen out there in LA. And our last team out west, the Oakland Athletics, I'm going to give them Corey Knievel. Knievel got hurt with the Phillies. He started off as their closer and then just never really found it again. He's a player who needs to rebuild some value. very type of low-end free agent that the Athletics could sign, build up as a setup man, even their closer for the first part of the season, and then they could flip at the deadline for a prospect or two. I think Corey Knievel would fit very well in Oakland. That stadium would keep the ERA down and give him some quality defense behind him. So Corey Knievel to Oakland. National League time now. Let's go east to west. Let's start off with the Atlanta Braves. I don't think the Braves are bringing Dansby Swanson back. I don't think the money works. I think if he was going to be there long term, Swanson would already be locked up, and they're going to look at Vaughn Grissom as his replacement. So I think the Braves need a little bit more help in the pitching department. They could use a starter. They could use a reliever. How about a guy that can go back and forth? Let's talk about Ross Stripling. I think Stripling was very good for the Jays this season. He can pitch out of the bullpen. He can be a starter. I think Stripling fits very, very well with what Atlanta needs. New York Mets, if they lose Jacob deGrom, they're going to have money to spend. How about Justin Verlander? If you got money to spend, you replace deGrom with one of the greatest ever in Justin Verlander. I think it's a big-time money deal. Brings Verlander to the Mets and gives them an opportunity to win another World Series. I think Verlander would fit very well on a high-type price contract like Max Scherzer. Maybe we're talking $45 million a year for maybe 2 years, maybe even 3. I think Verlander to the Mets is almost a done deal if they lose deGrom. NL champion Philadelphia Phillies, they have a hole at shortstop. Actually, it's at second base, but let's move Bryson Stott over to second base for a moment. Xander Bogaerts would fit so well in Philadelphia. Tremendous contact hitter with some pop. Dave Dombrowski knows him very, very well from his time in Boston. I think Xander Bogaerts may be the perfect fit in Philadelphia, filling a need. How about the number 2 hole? Move Rhys Hoskins down a little bit. I think this would work out very, very well for the Phillies. Who knows what the Marlins are going to do? They seem to build it up, sell it off. Build it up, sell it off. We're talking about trading Pablo Lopez. I think they need some offense and to keep some of these guys around and start building. How about an outfielder? Mitch Haniger. Haniger has had some injury issue last year, but the year before he was fantastic. I think Haniger would be a very, very good play on a 1-year deal down with Miami. Let him rebuild some value. Maybe he gets absolutely red hot like he was 2 years ago. Maybe the Marlins can make a bit of a push in this division and Haniger would really fit in. I think it's almost like a Starling Marte move from a couple years ago. Haniger would be a great fit in Miami. Our last team in the NL East, the Washington Nationals, they're in complete and total rebuild mode, so they need some innings. How about a starter like Sean Manaea? Manaea really had his problem with the Padres last year. It's been a few years since we really saw the dominant Sean Manaea. How about a buy low candidate? Get the opportunity to pitch a lot of quality innings for the Nationals, rebuild his value, and then a potential flip at the deadline for Manaea. Maybe a 1-year deal, maybe a club option and a second one. Manaea would be a great, great arm for a veteran arm for the Nationals to bring in, kind of mentor some of their young guys as well, and an opportunity to pitch very, very well in a consistent starter's role. NL Central we go. St. Louis Cardinals won the division. How about Wilson Contreras? Yadi Molina just retired. Contreras is the best catcher on the market. I think Contreras would fit very, very well with the Cardinals. Yes, it's strange to move from Cubs to Cardinals, but I think this is a great fit for the Cardinals. There's talk of Trey Turner. I don't see the Cardinals doing that. They don't spend that type of cash in free agency, especially those high-end contracts. With the young talent on its way and Mason Wynn and Jordan Walker, I don't see that happening. I think Wilson Contreras is your best bet to end up in St. Louis. The Milwaukee Brewers are really a tough one this offseason. I don't know if they're going to build it up or tear it down. I have no idea where they're going with this team. They're spending too much money on Christian Yelich, but they do need an outfielder. How about Andrew Benintendi? Benintendi seems to fit more on the Yankees or a Astros or someone of that nature. We'll see where he ends up, but maybe the market doesn't pan out for him. So I think there is a real opportunity that Andrew Benintendi is kind of left out of the shuffle, and maybe he ends up on a 1-year deal with a team like the Brewers. Chicago Cubs are starting to build it back up. They've got some young prospects coming along, but they do have a hole at first base. Frank Schwindel did not work out this season. Patrick Wisdom offers some talent there, but he's better fit maybe at third base for them. How about Trey Mancini? Mancini had a very, very tough postseason after coming over from Baltimore. He's a real clubhouse guy, though. He can offer a lot of quality talent with the bat as well when he gets himself right. I think Mancini would fit very well in Chicago. Maybe a couple-year deal. Give him the opportunity to build some value back up. Maybe he's a trade candidate along the way. But I think Trey Mancini would be a great fit for the rebuilding Chicago Cubs. He's been through it with Baltimore. He understands the process. How about Mancini to the Cubs? Cincinnati Reds were a very tough team trying to figure out for this. They need an outfielder. They need a utility guy. They are really rebuilding the pitching staff with young players, so I don't see them signing a whole bunch of free agents at the starting pitching or relief role. So you kind of got to look around the diamond. The guy I kind of landed on was Aledmys Diaz. Diaz can play some left field. We saw it in the playoffs for the Astros. He can play third. He can play second. He can give you some first base innings as well. Kind of a utility guy. I don't know. I think Aledmys Diaz is their best shot and ending up in Cincinnati. And last, the Pittsburgh Pirates. The Pirates desperately need catching help. The only catcher even listed is Tyler Heineman. Christian Vasquez is a name I'm going to keep in mind here. He works very well with the young pitchers. I've seen Vasquez, a lot of talent, and he's produced in Houston. He's produced in Boston. I think Vasquez here makes a lot of sense in a one-year deal that could be flipped later in the year. There aren't a lot of catcher-needy teams out there, or so they think. But I think Vasquez would have a chance to play every day and increase his value, maybe mentor some of the young guys as Endy Rodriguez and Henry Davis approach the major league level. I think Christian Vasquez would be a really smart get for the Pirates if they're ever going to spend any money. Let's finish it off with the NL West, the Los Angeles Dodgers. I have them signing Noah Syndergaard. Andrew Heaney's probably going to leave. Tyler Anderson has already left. It's going to be very interesting how the Dodgers fill out a starting rotation. I think Noah Syndergaard really proved his value in the playoffs for the Phillies. And at the start of the year, he was pretty good at the Angels as well before the deadline. I think Syndergaard coming over to LA and their ability to maximize usage from a pitcher makes a lot of sense for Syndergaard to take his talents to LA. He can be a back end of the rotation starter for them. They can really help him through his delivery and his mechanics to really emphasize that breaking ball and bring the quality back to that breaking ball. So I think Syndergaard would fit very well in LA. Padres still have a hole at first base with Josh Bell potentially leaving. So I think the guy that fits very well for them, Jose Abreu, former league MVP. Abreu brings a lot of bat-to-ball skills. He drives in a ton of runs. He's the type of guy you could fill in at number 4 or 5 spot after Machado and Tatis and Soto to knock all those runs in. I think Abreu would make a lot of sense for the Padres. Do I see him leaving Chicago? Not really. But if he's going to end up anywhere, I think San Diego makes a lot of sense for Jose Abreu. I know, you've been waiting for it. San Francisco Giants, Aaron Judge. If Judge is going anywhere, and I'm on the record saying Judge is not leaving the Yankees. Let me be clear on that. Judge ends up in San Francisco if he doesn't go back to the Yankees. This is the game we play with this type of video. I think Judge would do very well in San Francisco. That pressure of New York is taken off of him. He has the opportunity to really show off his defensive skills in that bigger right field in San Francisco. He can hit the home runs, but obviously he's not going to hit as many in San Francisco, but take some of the pressure off. The Giants have all kinds of money to spend. I don't like long-term deals, 8-9-year deals, especially for a guy like Judge. I think San Francisco really sees as an opportunity to jump and really improve their team. So I have Aaron Judge to the Giants. Let's deal with the Rockies next. I think Zach Eflin ends up in Colorado as a starter for them. Eflin needs to rebuild his value as a starting pitcher. Yes, I know Colorado probably isn't the place to do that, but that might be left out in the shuffle a little bit here. I could see Eflin ending up in Colorado. He has the repertoire to actually succeed in Colorado. That high fastball, nice breaking ball. I think he could really fit there in Colorado, give them some quality innings, and give them an opportunity to flip a player at the deadline. I don't see any more about a one-year deal for Eflin in this case. Unless somebody really thinks a lot of him as a reliever and gives him a big contract, I think it's more of a one-year deal as a starter for Zach Eflin. And our last team, the Arizona Diamondbacks. Here's where I'm thinking big. The Diamondbacks have quality young prospects coming in the outfield. They've got a decent rotation. They need some help on the infield to go along with Ketel Marte and Christian Walker. Dansby Swanson to Arizona. Arizona has done this from time to time where they spent money on a bigger name player. I think Swanson would be an incredible fit in Arizona. Yes, I know they had him in the system before. Yes, I know they traded him to Atlanta. It hasn't worked out there before. But I think this is an opportunity for Swanson to come back to Arizona, put all the pieces together there, form a very nice middle of the infield with Ketel Marte. I think this just makes so much sense if the Diamondbacks are willing to spend. And I think they're a team that has done it in the past. I could see it happening again. Dansby Swanson, Arizona. Thank you so much for making it all the way to the end of another video. I greatly appreciate all the support here on 3 Up, 3 Down. And remember, this is about finding players a new home. I didn't have anybody re-signing, so I don't want to see down in the comments, Shane, Jacob deGrom is going to re-sign with the Mets because they're going to pay him the most money. Yes, he probably is, but that's not what this video is about. We're having some fun and trying to find some new homes to new players and make some bold predictions. If you're into this kind of baseball content and you want to see more of this kind of content, make sure you go back and look at the last video on why I think the 2022 World Series is the best World Series of all time. And I've been making some YouTube shorts. If you've been missing out on those shorts, go check out the channel. Go over there, subscribe, check out the YouTube shorts. I greatly appreciate all the support. There will be more MLB offseason content along the way. And yes, the Fantasy Baseball Draft Spectacular final video is coming soon. So you make sure you subscribe so you can see that video when it comes out. Till next time, take care, everyone.